In March 2026, a geopolitical conflict involving the United States sent economic shockwaves across the globe. For India, these tremors translated into the worst energy crisis in its history. The nation faced a slow economic suffocation, evidenced by long queues for cooking gas and soaring fuel costs. The government's response followed a familiar, performative ritual. Committees were convened, and officials produced an inventory of solutions, explaining to the public that the pain was a necessary byproduct of external disruptions in the Hormuz Strait. But according to author Shankar Iyer, the blame placed on this external war is a distraction. The current crisis is not a sudden accident, but the result of decades of deliberate domestic inattention. India did not stumble into this energy shock. It walked in unhurriedly, continuously ignoring its own blueprints for building national resilience. The warning signs were present during the oil shocks of 1973 and 1979. Yet decades later, the historical failure to build independence has only solidified into a massive reliance on foreign imports. This chart shows the gap. Despite political promises to reduce the import bill, by 2026, India's dependence on foreign oil climbed to 88.5%. At the same time, domestic production shrank, dropping from 36.9 million metric tons in 2015 to just 28.7 million in 2025. Rising consumption is expected in a growing economy. The crisis is caused by the vulnerability created when domestic production fails to keep pace with that growth. The solutions were already on the table. In 2005, the Parikh report provided a master blueprint for achieving energy independence to fuel high GDP growth. This bar chart shows the gap in nuclear power. While the target was set at 63 gigawatts, the actual installed capacity today is only 8.8 gigawatts. Structural failures, including bureaucratic red tape, clearance clogs, and local political resistance, have left major projects like Jaitapur languishing for over 15 years. Hydroelectric power followed a similar path, reaching only 51.2 gigawatts against a recommended 150 gigawatt target. The distance between those 2005 targets and the reality of 2026 represents the exact power shortfall currently straining the nation's economy. These grid-level failures translate directly to household realities, most notably in the return of long queues for cooking gas. India missed opportunities to scale domestic alternatives, such as regional plants that convert agricultural residue into cooking gas, or indoor solar cookers that would bypass foreign supply chain disruptions. Despite having 300 days of sunlight a year, state execution of farm-level solar programs has sputtered, hitting only a fraction of its 10,000 megawatt target. This lack of integration leaves individual farmers without new income and the national grid without a vital source of localized power. This chart shows how India and China started at nearly the exact same baseline in 2005, with total power capacities around 520 gigawatts. Since then, China's capacity has grown to over 3,900 gigawatts. In 2025 alone, China added more power than India's entire generation capacity. This scale was achieved through aggressive renewable expansion and a strategic petroleum reserve holding 1.5 billion barrels, a significant buffer against global market shocks. This trajectory stems from a core difference in strategy. China interprets energy security as a primary pillar of its national security. The 2026 crisis proves that business-as-usual economics is no longer sustainable in a volatile global climate. Iyer argues for a radical shift in mindset. India must stop focusing on importing oil barrels and start generating domestic gigawatts. This involves utilizing untapped geography, such as the 11,000 kilometers of coastline, to pilot tidal and wave energy programs. Another lateral solution is the use of divider spaces along 1.46 lakh kilometers of national highways to tap solar power for a nationwide e-charging network. True resilience is not about avoiding global conflicts. It is about engineering domestic energy security so that the nation's progress cannot be suffocated by the wars of others.